All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the internet, welcome back to yet another Leadership Academy. Man, I am so pumped to come in through one more time with another book review. And I have to say, this one, I have really been looking forward to doing it. And so, this is going to be The Rich Dad's Guide to Investing by Robert Kiyosaki. But this is only going to be phase one. I've been having a challenge where I've just been covering so many books and not creating a lot of time to come in and do them. So I figured, well, maybe we could just be doing the part one, part two, part three thing, and we could cover it. But yeah, let's go, man. So this is Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. This should be the third book in the trilogy, in the golden trilogy, the Kiyosaki golden trilogy. There was the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think there's the cash flow quadrant, and then now this Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. I thought this book was really, really profound, and I thought it was a powerful book. And so we're going to get into it, and especially just in the last week, me coming back into this book has really given me a lot of fire to double down on a lot of finance books and a lot of personal finance books to just like further this money conversation. All right. Okay, so this is how I do this. Is I read these books digitally on Kindle or on the app, and then I send myself the highlights, and then I would come back here on Google Docs, and then I would pick a few highlights. So I will highlight some of the highlights, which is called progressive summarization, that really stood out to me, and then I would talk through it and what it meant for me. And I just wanted to add that these actually are words from the author, and so they are copyrighted words from the author. However, it's very profound to me, just because I found that since English is not my first language, and I learn a lot when I actively read back what the author said. And so it's a learning process for me. So no copyright infringement intended. Let's go. All right. Money will be anything you want it to be. What he meant was, money comes from our minds, our thoughts. Okay, let's keep going. I will highlight a lot of also my own kind of psychology as we go through it, and some of the thoughts that I have, and some of the kind of like the resistances that I have. All right, let's go. Richard warned me that the mental preparation it takes to become a sophisticated investor is probably similar to the mental preparation it would take to climb Mount Everest or to prepare for priesthood. He was kidding, yet he put me on notice that such an undertaking is not to be taken lightly. And I remember just highlighting not to be taken lightly. And even for me, when I came back and I was reflecting a lot around this subject on the books that Kiyosaki was offering, he said that this idea of making money, this idea of investments, this idea of personal finance and being a better finance steward are not to be taken lightly. It should be one of the most serious preparations you take in your life. And for me, that was just like a reminder, and also how easy it is to not talk about money or these ideas and take them as seriously as we're supposed to. Think hard and prepare mentally, because you're about to learn to invest in a way that very few people are allowed to invest. You will see the investment world from the inside rather than from the outside. There are far easier paths in life and easier ways to invest. So, think over and be prepared if you decide this is the path for your life. So think about it. Just think very hard. Mentally get ready. Because if you want to start investing like this, the way he talks about the way the rich invest, you want to be ready mentally, okay? So you shouldn't take these ideas lightly. Another highlight, and what was my first lesson as Rich Dad? The rich don't work for money, I said promptly. They know how to have money work for them. I reflected about this idea, and I must have even talked about it, and you'll see me talking about it along the way as the book goes on. But this idea of the rich don't work for money is an interesting psychological difference in thinking about money, such that, so ideally, the normal middle class people work for money, but the rich work for assets that produce money. So it's sort of like a difference in psychology, in kind of like the things that people are trying to put their money to do. Some people are putting their blood, sweat, and tears to get a better paycheck, and some people are putting blood, sweat, and tears to buy assets that produce money. And you'll see this as we go along the way. Now, let's go on. I remember that when I was a kid working for Rich Dad, all he talked about was building his businesses. But now that he was rich, all he only talked about was his investments for the rich. Why did I highlight this? I see. I think maybe one of the reasons I highlighted it is just to show that he was building business that was giving him money, and now that he's rich, all he's doing is investing. Yes. I think this is true. So I'm sorry, just some of the way I do this, I preempt and I go randomly. I talk about things that come up in my head. After I read this book, I went to the website and I was playing the game Cash Flow. And the game Cash Flow is a very interesting game that Kiyosaki designed. That you play on the rat race, and one of your goals is to get out of the rat race. And how you get out of the rat race is that you build a passive income that is greater than your expenses, and your assets are greater than your liabilities, and then you're out of the rat race. And then finally, when you have out of the rat race and you have like this excess cash and these assets, you move into playing a new game called investments. So I mean, now that I read it, I can see it is that you spend all your time building businesses that give you cash flow, and you use this cash flow to build to buy assets that give you money. And then now when you have all this good money, you now start doing investments. I thought this was profound. This is a subject that this is a playbook that nobody has ever given me in my life. And you see, the things I found out when I was reading this book is that the language that I started finding from these books about money and how to make money was so profound to me, and something that I had never had before. For example, this is a playbook that they're giving you, that you work, you build assets, the assets give you cash, and then when you have more cash than your expenses, now you're rich, and now you start doing investments. I never had that playbook. Listen to this, and he builds on these ideas. And I think if you also okay, I'll just read these things, but if you read this book to the end and you stay with these ideas, you start seeing what he really means. The reason I built businesses was so I could invest in the investments of the rich. The only reason you build a business is so that your business can buy your assets. Without my businesses, I could not afford to invest in the investments of the rich. Again, this is exactly the playbook. The playbook is you have a business that gives you cash, you use that cash to buy assets, assets generate more cash, generate more cash, generate more cash. Finally, when you have a bunch of cash, you start to invest the investments of the rich. And he continues, says, on the other hand, my rich dad said, learn to build businesses and invest through your businesses. And we'll see this as we go along the way. Now, the lesson began with preparing mentally and taking control of myself, because that is the only place that investing really takes place. Anyway, investing ultimately begins and ends with taking control of yourself. This part of the book comes back to you, the investor. It comes back to start addressing the psychology of the individual investor. And as we're going to see, it's going to talk specifically about you, that you want to take control of yourself. It is really about your own personal development. Right, so let's keep going. Rich Dad's lesson on investing began. When it comes to money and investing, people have three fundamental reasons or choices for investing: to be 1, secure, comfortable, or rich. And he was going to talk about this a lot through this book, but primarily people have 3 reasons why they choose to invest: for security, to have a comfortable life, or to be rich. And sometimes People can pick and choose whichever they want. Some people can only invest for security, some for comfort, and others for richness. And we're going to come back and talk about these ideas. Now, when I reflect upon this lesson, it occurs to me that what people are really saying is that I'd rather feel secure and comfortable than be rich. That is because when they are insecure or uncomfortable, they are not happy. For me, I was willing to feel insecure and uncomfortable in order to be rich. I have been rich and poor as well as happy and unhappy, but I assure you that when I was poor and unhappy, I was much unhappier than when I was rich and unhappy. Right? So, like, you want rich people problems, man. Like, yeah, let me just be rich and be unhappy than be poor and unhappy. But he also is bringing this point that you also want to choose to be rich. And it was interesting that also some people subconsciously or consciously refuse to choose the rich path. They just choose the secure and the comfortable path. I mean, it makes sense to be modest, right? To say things to yourself like, I'm a modest person, so I want I don't want a lot of money. I just want to be secure and to be comfortable. But why don't you also want to be rich? And this is a psychology also that we start addressing personally, individually, as we're reading these books and we're working through this material and through these ideas. My poor dad put to be secure as priority 1, and rich dad put to be rich as priority 1. Before beginning to invest, it is important to decide what your priorities are. So as we'll see, you're going to have to decide yourself, you, the investor, what are some of your priorities? I already know, just having worked through this book, I like the rich idea, and I want to work on the rich side too. Now, don't worry about money. If you do the right things, there'll always be plenty of money. Don't let not having money be an excuse for not getting what you want. In 1973, during one of Rich Dad's lessons, he said, there are only 2 kinds of money problems. One problem is not enough money, and the other problem is too much money. What type of money problem do you want? In my classes of investing, I spend a lot of time on this subject. Most people come from families where the money problem was not enough. Since money is only an idea, if your idea is that there's not enough money, then that is what your reality will be. So I'm recording this in 2023, and Al Jazeera has this documentary in Africa that they did called the gold mafia of Zimbabwe, right? And they're talking about this like billionaires mafia that are buying gold and laundering gold from the Zimbabwean government, and they're taking them to Dubai, and they're cleaning that money, they're returning it back to gold. And I remember really somebody said this statement in the documentary, talking about some South African billionaire. He's a crook though, but let's just use this idea like as much as a crook. Somebody said that this guy from South Africa, like Radcliffe or someone, he has a lot of money problems. Like, he has a ginormous amount of cash, and that's a problem to this individual. They want to deal with this problem of a ginormous amount of cash. They need to convert this cash into assets. It was so after I read that, after I watched that, and I was coming and I was reading this one more time, I was like, yeah, it's true. Now that I watched that, it's true that there are people out there who have like too much money problems. Like, I have a lot of money, a lot of real money. What am I going to invest in? And it's so true. It's like, what if you have a bunch of cash? What if your businesses have generated a load of cash? And okay, so what am I going to do with this cash? That's a too much money problem. And so I thought that was a really profound idea, that these two people, these crooks, whoever, who have this too much money problem, and just normal people who have like too little money problem, they reason differently. The psychology of money is significantly different, and this part allowed me to come to terms with that reality. And this is just a reality. It doesn't mean that one is right and one is wrong. It's just a reality that how you are raised up in the money reality in your life kind of affects your view on money and how you interact with money in your life. So Man, I would love to explore that psychology later on. Listen to this. That is why more they seek security, the less opportunity they see on the flip side of the coin. As a great baseball player, Yogi Berra once said, strike out just 7 out of 10 times and you are in the Hall of Fame. In other words, if he came to the bat 1,000 times in his baseball career and he struck out only 700 times, he would be in the Hall of Fame. Look at that. After reading Yogi Berra's quote, Rich Dad said, most people are so security conscious that they live their entire lives avoiding striking out just once. And I think here he's bringing up this idea of taking a bunch of risk and trying something new, right? And we're going to come back to this idea of just trying. One of the advantages I had coming from two families was that I could see both types of problems, and rest assured, both are problems. My poor dad always had problems of not enough money, and my rich dad always had problems of too much money. Rich Dad had a comment on the strange phenomenon. He said, people who suddenly become rich by things such as inheritance or a big jackpot from Las Vegas or lottery suddenly become poor again because psychologically all they know is a world of not enough money. So they lose all their suddenly found wealth and go back to the only world of money they knew, a world of not enough money. Look at that. Their psychology is that of a poor person. And so I think that's why this chapter starts, and this idea of control starts talking about your own psychology as an investor. How do you think about money? I had never, it's so fascinating for me, maybe because I'm now a grown man, but growing up, I never knew that there's a psychology of money. I never knew that the way you see the world and the way you see money, like you could put it in a, like in a psychology, like you could define it, but you can't. One of my personal struggles was shaking off the idea that the world was a world of not enough money. From 1973 on, Rich Dad had me become very aware of my thoughts when it came to the subject of money, working and becoming rich. Look at these 3 ideas that you want to be very aware that it's happening here. You want to be aware of your thoughts about money. You want to be aware of your thoughts about work, hard work. What's your philosophy of work? How important is work? And also you want to be very aware of your thoughts of becoming rich. And for me, these are just some of the things that I've been kind of working also through in my own personal life, in my own personal psychology, in these 3 ideas of money, working, and becoming rich. And therefore, you catch your thoughts, you catch your reactions, you catch your anger around it. And this has been very, very profound because it helps you start asking the real, genuine questions. Look at this. Rich Dad truly believed that the poor people remain poor simply because that was the only world they knew. Rich Dad would say, whatever your reality is about money, inside you is the reality of money outside you. It's out of you. You cannot change your outside reality until you first change your inside reality about money. Think and grow rich. The power of your thoughts, your internal world commands your external world. And therefore, so this is just a question of, no, so what is your self-identity? What is your identity in this world? How do you see yourself? How do you show up? Your internal reality will influence your outside reality. And when it comes to money, man, whatever your inside reality of money is, that is what it is on the outside. Some people say this is nonsense, and I can understand because that is where they're coming from. But when you finally just see the fact that when you change your thought, you change your life, this becomes true. Now, during our discussions about scarcity, Rich Dad will take a coin out of his pocket and say, when a person say, I can't afford it, that person sees only one side of the coin. The moment you say, how can I afford it, you begin to see the other side. The problem is that even when people see the other side, they see it with only their eyes. That is why poor people see rich people doing what rich people do on the surface, but they fail to see what rich people are doing inside their minds. If you want to see the other side of the coin, you have to see what is going on inside a very rich person's mind. The second half of this book is what goes on in a rich person's mind. I am so happy that these are like direct quotes from the book. And you know, some of these things you can just do, like you're reading this book and some of these quotes stand out to you, and it makes you think and you reflect upon those quotes, and you're thinking, oh, what does the author really mean when they say such kind of things? But this can show you that the author has stayed with this idea and they've tested it. And they've said, wow, there's another side of the coin that people are not seeing. And a lot of people will not bother to figure out the psychology of the rich person, the mindset of the rich person. Say they do not see about what's going on inside a rich person's mind. And he said that's why poor people see rich people doing what rich people do on the surface, but they fail to see what rich people are doing inside of their minds. And you want to see the other side of the coin. You have to see what's going on inside the person's mind. So you also don't want just to hack a rich person's balance sheet. You also want to hack a rich person's psychology. And the second half of this book goes into this. I really enjoyed that. And I mean, if you can just stay there, we could stay there. But I really enjoyed this idea of let's confront your thoughts. Let's confront how you think about how people make money. And let's get into that. Let's go back. Now, a big part of taking control of myself was taking control of my internal reality about money. I have had to constantly remind myself that there is a world of too much money, because in my heart and soul, I have often felt like a poor person. I wondered when I read this and I was reading this book, I wondered just how, the kind of emotional intelligence the author Kiyosaki has for him to uncover these layers of human thought, human fears, and to talk about them bare like this in a book. I found that so profound, because these are some of the things that I personally have been trying to work on, even just like kind of like uncovering that that raw nature of like a man's fears. He's talking about it, man, that in my heart and soul I have often felt like a poor person. It's like, wow, have you ever had someone admit that in your life? So for me, I was like pretty significant. One of the exercises which that had me do whenever I felt the surge of panic in my heart and stomach, the panic that comes from the fear of not having enough money, was simply say there are two kinds of money problems. One problem is not enough money, and the other is too much money. Which one do I want? And I would ask this question mentally, even though my core being was in a state of financial panic. I remember I highlighted that because I was like, whoa, he just uncovered like a real deep fear, and he also attached a solution to some of his real deep fears. Okay? There are two kinds of money problems. One problem is not enough money, and the other is too much money. Which one do I want? Think about that. Now, the main purpose of combating my core panic was to allow me to calm down so I could move forward again. See this, that he had to combat his core panic. You see, money, the reason even why I'm doing this, that the money conversation is important, because money makes you freak out. For me, in my evolution, I've also noticed just how money made me freak out a lot. Even so, when I started my family, I remember money was this subject that got me to freak out so bad. And when our money was running low and I'm looking at our account, we don't have money, and next week I'm thinking, how is it going to be? I don't have money for X. Instead of trusting actually that I could work and get that money next week, I just start freaking out, and my heart is beating and I'm in a state of panic. How? And so you're now combating this core panic. Why are you panicking? Listen to what I said. I said it's important to calm your emotional state so that you can move forward again. If you don't find a way to calm your emotional state around the idea of money, you cannot move forward. You get stuck. and you want to move forward. Rich Dad said, the more a person seeks security, the more scarcity they will have in their life. Security and scarcity go hand in hand. That's why people who seek job security or guarantees are often the people with less abundance in their life. One of the reasons the 90-10 rule of money holds true is that most people spend their lives seeking more security instead of seeking more financial skills. The more financial skills you have, the more abundance you will have in your life. This book is very practical. I mean, this book doesn't give you any fluff. And I wonder why I have had people hate on this book. I wonder why they've bundled it with those other like feel-good books, law of attraction type books. But really, there's nothing about like thinking your way to prosperity. It's like you want to combat this with financial skills. And the more financial skills you have, the more abundance you have in your life. He introduces this idea. He will reiterate, and by the end of this reading, you will see why it's important to have financial skills. In fact, even this chapter alone has triggered me to really go hard and try and build my financial skills. It was these financial skills that gave Rich Dad the power to begin acquiring some of the most valuable real estate in Hawaii, even though he had very little money. These same financial skills give people the power to take an opportunity and to turn it into millions of dollars. Most people can see opportunities. They just cannot turn that opportunity into money. That is why they often seek more security. Look at that. I mean, even I have I've had some of failed projects and some of failed ideas. And then you see someone else execute that idea successfully. I'm like, whoa, I had that idea. You want to have more financial skills so that you can grow your opportunities. Let's continue. So Rich Dad also said the more a person seeks security, the less they can see the opportunities that abound. They only see one side of the coin and never the other side. I went back and I watched my review of Rich Dad Poor Dad and my review of The Richest Man in Babylon, where they talk about opportunities and opportunities that abound. And how to see opportunities is how you really see money. But opportunities don't come dressed up the way you should expect. Opportunities do not come dressed up like I'm ready to go. You have to develop the eye to see this opportunity. And this is a skill, this is a mind skill that you build. I thought that was very profound. Rich Dad smiled and laughed, saying, now, first of all, investing means different things to different people. That's why it seems so confusing. What most people call investing is not really investing. People are always talking about different things, yet they often think they are talking about the same thing. So, what does investing really mean? You see, this is why this conversation about money is so important. It's because now, if you're going to develop a framework to think about investing, then we also want to develop a language to really think about investing, so that we can cut all the fluff and just like understand this is the language, this is what it means. Okay. Rich Dad said investing means different things to different people. Rich Dad also said there's one person who can possibly be an expert at the entire field, an entire subject. I am often asked questions like, I have $10,000 to invest. What do you recommend I invest in? And my standard reply is, do you have a plan? Okay, so let's jump into this one. Let's read the next one and then we're going to talk about this plan thing. Investment advice is personal advice. One of the most important lessons I learned from Rich Dad was this: investing is a plan. It's not a product or procedure. He went on to say investing is a very personal plan. During one of my lessons on investing, he asked, do you know why there are so many different types of cars and trucks? And they continue. But let's go back to this idea of plan. Up until this point, I hadn't really understood the importance of having a plan and the importance of investing being a plan. So when you're going to talk about investing, because it means different things to different people, is then what is your plan? What do you want from your life? What are you trying to get out of this life? What are some of the things you want to do? What are some of the dreams that look good to you? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to give your money to charity? Do you want to be filthy rich and like give your money to politicians? Do you want to run for governor? What is your plan? What do you want? So if you're going to give investment advice, you have to know this is personal advice. I had a quote the other day. Someone said that investing really is like a palm, and it's unique to you and it's unique to everyone. So when people get into investing, they should understand that it is unique to them, and so therefore, what is their plan? So investing is a plan. It's not a procedure, and it's not a product. It is a plan. It is your plan. You have to take this investment plan and put it against your life, your 2 years, your 5 years, your 10 years, your 50 years. What do you want from this life? These different products and procedures become overwhelming and confusing. So Rich Dad said the wheelbarrow is vehicle of choice when describing many investors. Too many so-called investors get attached to one investment product and one investment procedure. For example, a person may invest only in stocks, or a person may invest only in real estate. The person becomes attached to the vehicle and then fails to see that all other investment vehicles and procedures are available. The person becomes an expert at one wheelbarrow and pushes it in a circle forever. So you see, these are just products and procedures. But you want to understand all these products and procedures so that you can layer it on top of your plan. Because now if you're going to think that investment is just real estate, that's maybe the only thing we're going to do forever. If you just think investment is stocks or like types of securities, maybe that's where we're going to put a lot of our wealth. And therefore we want to understand that investment is a plan. So as he finished this idea, he says, so are you willing to invest the time to find out where you are financially today and where you want to be financially? Are you willing to spell out how you plan to get there? In addition, always remember that a plan is not really a plan until it is in writing and you can show it to someone else. Look at that. The only way you can have an investment plan is if you actually take a pen or like a paper and type it out exactly what you want and exactly what you think you'll do to get there. It's a laborious process. To plan anything is like a laborious process, and even for me personally, I've felt this pain of planning. But you see, this is the only way you get clarity. This is the only way you get clarity. This is the only way you start surfacing up some of your dreams, some of your old dreams. Oh yeah, I really have wanted to travel the world. Oh yeah, I have wanted to shoot a movie sometimes. Oh no, I do not want those types of things. I do not want those types of things I have never really wanted. Oh yeah, I have wanted those types of things. You start surfacing all these things and learning a lot about the kind of person that you are when you plan your life. Very good. Most people are trying to make money by what they think investing, what they think is investing, but trading is not investing. Look at that. It's just reiterating. Trading is not investing. It's so he continues, says it's trading, said Rich Dad. And trading is a procedure or a technique. A person trading stocks is not much different than a person who buys a house, fixes it up, and sells it for a higher profit. One trades stocks, the other trades real estate. It's still trading. In reality, trading is centuries old. Camels carried exotic wares across the desert to consumers in Europe. So a retailer is also a trader in a sense. And trading is a profession, but it is not what I call investing. So next time they give you like Robinhood, or they give you an app and they say, look, investor, you're an investor. Now you can start trading in stocks, buying stocks and selling them. Remember, this is just trading. This is not investing. It's just a profession. I really needed this I really needed to hear this one more time so that I just calm myself down, because recently I got a few apps. There's an app here in Kenya called Hisa. I jumped on the app. I just got it back up, and I wanted to start trading. Hisa is a Kenyan app, but they allow you to buy and trade like international stocks. So you can hold like American stocks, Amazon, Apple, whatever, Google, whichever you want, and you can trade it. And you can also just like, it's a brokerage, but it's on your phone. But I really need to hear this, that trading is a profession. It is not what I call investing. Therefore, what do I want? And that's a question to you. What do you want? Now, look at this. Some people become experts at one type of product and procedure. That is what I mean by becoming attached to the wheelbarrow. The wheelbarrow works. It has a lot of cash around, but it's still a wheelbarrow. A true investor does not become attached to the vehicles or the procedures. A true investor has a plan and has multiple options for different investment vehicles and procedures. All a true investor wants to do is to get from point A to B safely and within a desired time frame. That person does not want to own or push the wheelbarrow. So one product or procedure that you could have in the season could be stocks, or it could be bonds, or it could be real estate, or it could be coins, or it could be commodities, or it could be all types of features. But remember, it's just a product that you layer on top of a plan that can help you come from point A to point B safely and within a desired time frame. And so this is a great question again to ask yourself and to remind yourself that, listen, don't become a product or a procedure person. Become a plan type of person. And then now go ahead and start learning. Start learning about things that can help you move from point A to point B safely and within a desired time frame. This was so profound to me. I thought about it just subconsciously a lot, and I was just thinking about this idea, and I was like, yeah, it's so true. And for me, I want this for my life. Many people who think they're investors get attached to the investment vehicle. They think they have to like stocks or like real estate to use them as investment vehicles. So they look for investment that they like and fail to put together a plan. These are the investors who wind up traveling in cycles, never getting from financial point A to financial point B. So I wrote here to myself, calm yourself down and create a plan first. Calm yourself down and create a plan first. What do you want from life? What do you want to achieve with your investments? What is your plan for security, for comfort, and for richness? What do you want? Calm yourself down. Now, if you have a plan in place, you can now come and take stocks because you like stocks, or take real estate because you like real estate. This is a very fundamental type of investment advice. And again, there's nothing wishy-washy about this idea. There's nothing like think your way to prosperity with these ideas. Let's go. Rich Dad noted, saying, in fact, don't invest until you have a plan. Always remember that investing is a plan, not a product or procedure. That is a very important lesson. And I remember thinking to myself, man, I should just like close this book and go write a plan. And in fact, that's why I have decided to not even finish the book, because the emotions are so deep and the emotions are so intense. It's like, okay, fine, I need a plan. I do not have a plan. I'll tell you the truth, man. I have written a life plan for myself, a 10-year life plan for myself before, but I do not have a financial plan. I do not have, just because the intensity, or the overwhelm that comes to you, things, so man, how do I even know? How do I even make those guesses? How do I make those assumptions that I want to have 5 houses in 5 locations in the world? You see, your mind will come for you and tell you, man, who are you kidding, right? It's so this kind of just overwhelm that I'm supposed to plan my entire financial future really starts to bog you down. And that's why in this book he says that you need to find a financial advisor who now can help you to do this. And I googled. I see this is an aside. I'll just keep rambling with my asides. When when he said that, I was like, oh yeah, okay, fine. So this is a solution, because it's so overwhelming. And I found this financial advisor, this Kenyan financial advisor on YouTube, and I went to his website and I watched a few of his webinars, and he was teaching you how to invest. And I figured, so this person already has a bunch of clients. They've been doing this for years. They helped a bunch of people. So really, they can look at your income statement, and they can help you come up with a plan of where you want to go, because they have just like they've already done the hard work of thinking about these things. But if you think about it, you find out that, wow, yeah, it is true, and it is possible actually that someone can have a whole financial plan for their whole lives, including the goals that they want, where they want to live, the kind of home they want to build, the kind of schools they want to take their children, how much money it will take, how they're going to make that money, how much money they hope to leave for their grandchildren, the kind of investments they want to have. It's possible to have this. I mean, if it's possible for an architect to design what do you call, like a skyscraper that is intricate and detailed, it is possible that a financial advisor can help you come up with a plan for your life. So when I thought about this thing, I was like, just stop. The overwhelming feeling is stupid. Giving into the overwhelm is stupid, because actually it is possible to have a plan. Now, don't invest until you have a plan. Always remember that investing is a plan, not a product or procedure. That's a very important lesson. All right. No, Rich Dad said, shaking his head, it does not take money to make money. It takes something available to all of us and a lot less expensive to obtain than money. In fact, many cases, what it takes is free. Your mind. And we'll talk about it later on. So, scores, grants, grammar, literature, government appropriations, and tenure. So this, we're talking about the vocabulary of Rich. And this is the vocabulary of Poor Dad, Kiyosaki's real dad. So he has those ideas. So he scores, grants, grammar, literature, government appropriations, and tenure. Rich Dad smiled and said, it does not take money to make money, it takes words. The difference between a rich person and a poor person is a poor person's vocabulary. All a person needs to do is become richer, is to increase his or her financial vocabulary. And the best news is that most words are free. My take from this idea is not just about words. Like I said, it's about language. I have learned in my few years that language is so important. In fact, James Clear said, maybe it wasn't James Clear, but somebody said that the first step to make any type of habit change is to develop language. If you have appropriate language for what is facing you, then you can make that change. So when you have language, when you have the language is so important because it changes in your mind the associations that you make. Right? Case in point, when you think about assets and the financial vocabulary, the language that you have in your mind is that an asset needs to produce an income. It changes from the normal vocabulary of asset, that these are things that you own, that you paid with your own money. Like a phone would be an asset because I spent a bunch of money on. But in this language, no, if this phone has to be giving me X amount of money for me to call it an asset. This financial vocabulary is so important. And that's why I am learning. It is so important to keep learning. It is so important to keep evolving in your own learning, in your own quest for knowledge, in your own quest for becoming a better person. Because now you start even unlearning some of the old habits, some of the old things that you were thinking about. And you start getting better language around these ideas of money. This was so profound to me. It's just so profound to me. And I even feel like I might not be able to finish this part one, and I need to finish this part one. Let me try my best to finish this part one. So I'm just going to read quickly. As Rich Dad said, the problem with being young is that you don't know what it feels like to be old. If you knew what being old felt like, you would plan your financial life differently. He also said the problem with many people is that they plan only up to retirement. Planning up to retirement is not enough. You need to plan far beyond retirement. In fact, if you're rich, you should plan for at least 3 generations beyond you. If you don't, the money could be gone soon after you're gone. Besides, if you don't have a plan for your money before you depart from this earth, the government does. And actually, just this week in Kenya, I have read stories of 3 people. In fact, just yesterday, the other day, on Tuesday, there's a story on the paper of this billionaire whose family had like 4 wives and like a bunch of kids with all those wives. They were fighting for his wealth. And so somebody made a thread on Twitter about a few rich men in my country, like big politicians, old politicians, like the first generation of politicians after independence, who recently died with like a lot of money, and they had wills. And someone said, oh, this is the wills that the rich people have written. This is how they have decided their estate is going to be used when they're gone. If you don't, the money could be gone soon after you're gone. Besides, if you don't have a plan for your money before you depart from this earth, the government does. It will take it and put it in some type of trust or unclaimed wealth. During the 1980s, I spent much time teaching entrepreneurship and investing and became acutely aware of people's vocabulary and how their words related to their financial well-being. I did some research and found out that there are approximately 1 million words in the English language. The average person commands only a few thousand words. If people want to begin increasing their financial success, it begins with increasing their vocabulary in a certain subject. For example, when I was investing in small real estate deals, such as single-family rental properties, my vocabulary increased in that subject area. When I shifted to investing in private companies, my vocabulary had to increase before I felt comfortable investing in such companies. This is also so profound. To me. And here I ask the question, that could vocabulary be a substitute for education? It seems the author is tasking one to really know and understand. You see, when I was playing the game Cash Flow, right? The game is built and designed by the author, Kiyosaki. And so one thing that stood out to me was that when you're playing the game Cash Flow, and so you can take a small deal, you can take a big deal. But when I started taking big deals in the real estate thing, there was like a duplex. I remember there was like a 4x8 duplex. There was a small apartment, and there were in fact, and that's the interesting thing, there were different names of different types of real estate and different types of value connected to those real estate. And I just remember even playing the game saying, this is so interesting to me, because I've never had the language that there are different types of real estate. Even when I walk around and I see flats, I say, oh, those are a bunch of flats. But maybe there's a name to, so flats are a Kenyan, how you describe a bunch of property. Here in Kenya we have flats. Then I think we have single family residential, and then we have plotty. There's like a plot 10. That's another idea in Kenya. But you see, now that's a vocabulary that you need to learn when you're getting into real estate. And so you see, his vocabulary had to increase before he could feel comfortable investing in such companies. So you want to learn. You really want to ask yourself to improve the vocabulary. Or so this is a flat, this is an apartment, this is this type of apartment, this is a high-end apartment, whatever. You know the language to that. Now you want to get that language. It is so powerful because it's almost like if you just land. And some of these things are as easy as just Googling. Like I remember just Googling what a rate is. Real estate income trust. What is it? Is that it? I'll be so dumb if that's not it. But I remember Googling what a rate is. And it was like an investment vehicle that you could invest in, like a stock, and it pays you a dividend. But I thought that was so profound because I have never heard that language before. So what you want to do is to increase your language, you increase your vocabulary. If a person leaves school without learning the vocabulary of investing, finance, money, accounting, corporate law, and taxation, it is difficult to feel comfortable as an investor. And that is why a lot of people do not maybe do real accounting. Some people just don't understand law because they haven't learned the vocabulary. And whose responsibility is it to learn? It's yours. The words are free. Words are almost free. Like the newspaper is almost free. Google is almost free. If you have a phone, you can just Google some of these things. In fact, right now you can chat GPT, and chat GPT can just tell you these things for free. And so now I know a little bit about that. But you don't, so you stay in that space. Let me just go a bit quickly. Rich Dad often said, more than not knowing the definition of words, using the wrong definition of a word is what really causes long-term financial problems. Nothing is more destructive to a person's financial stability than to call a liability an asset. We already talked about that. And that is why Rich Dad would often say, it does not take money to make money. It takes a rich person's vocabulary to make money, and more importantly, to keep money. Powerful. Other people say, I don't need to plan. I have a retirement and a medical plan for my wife. Okay. The problem with such thinking that there is more to an investment plan than simply investments and money. A financial plan is important before someone begins to invest because it needs to take into consideration many different financial needs. These needs includes college, education, retirement, medical costs, and long-term health care. And most of these often large and pressing needs can be provided for by investing in products other than stocks and bonds and real estate, such as insurance products and different investment vehicles. Oh man, so are we going see in Kenya we have this thing where we say our insurance is like community. We're going to do a harambe, and then harambe is like a fundraiser, and then I'll be sorted. But that just shows that there's no financial planning that goes into this. And whose problem again? Whose responsibility is it to make this plan? It's yours. No one is going to it's yours, man. Let's just keep going. It is important to plan as early in life as possible. When I say this to my classes, most of my students are in agreement. No one disagrees on the importance of planning. The problem is that few people actually do it. I remember just thinking why it's so interesting for me. Even one of the reasons why personally I'm doing this book reviews is that why is there a knowing doing gap? Like I knew it. Yeah, I know that idea. That idea I heard about it. But did you do something about it? No. Why? And I remember even I felt this pressure or this problem in my life. And I wondered to myself that why is it that I sometimes know of good ideas and don't implement them? Is it pride? I think it's pride, right? Because it's not ignorance, right? I mean, it's not lack of time. I mean, it's just why are you not working or taking action on the good ideas that you have learned? Is it fear of failure? Is it because you know it's going to be beneficial to you? Why are you so proud that why? So I think it's always important to come and face this psychology that when you learn good ideas, why don't you implement them? That's a personal thing to work on. That's correct, Richard answered. Unless of course you want it to be that way, or you think that is the way investing has to be. But for me, investing is as simple as boring as following a recipe to bake bread. Personally, I hate risk. I just want to be rich, so I simply follow the plan, the recipe, or the formula. That's all investing is to me. So if investing is simply a matter of following a recipe, then how come so many people don't follow the same formula? I asked. Investing is simply a playbook. And Rich Dad's playbook was very simple. Rich Dad's playbook was collect 4 greenhouses and convert 400 4 green motels, and convert for one red hotel. Build assets to buy a bigger asset. Build assets, sell or whatever, buy a bigger asset. And that's a formula. And why is that, I asked? Because following a simple plan to become rich is boring, said Rich Dad. Look at this. Human beings are quickly bored and want to find something more exciting and amusing. That's why only 3 out of 100 people become rich. They start following a plan and soon they are bored. So they stop following the plan and they look for a magic way to get rich quick. They repeat the process of boredom and amusement and boredom again for the rest of their lives. That is why they do not get rich. They cannot stand the boredom of following a simple, uncomplicated plan to get rich. I mean, this man just described a lot of my psychology and a lot of the emotions and pain that I've felt in some of my projects, and I'm just like the amusement and boredom cycle. Like, how does he know about this? It's so fascinating. A lot of us can't just sustain the boredom of following a simple formula. And life is actually pretty boring. I mean, I think life is pretty boring. It's not... actually, I even thought about it. When I go on my phone and I jump on my Twitter and I see that Elon Musk just tweeted, and then people are replying, I start feeling like things are going so fast and things are going so fast. But when I put it down, actually life is pretty boring, man. There are things we just need to get done in my real life, in marriage life. It's very boring. But a lot of people don't want to take the boredom. Let's jump. Ooh, look at this. Rich Dad said a similar thing to me. Most people who consider themselves investors make money one day and then give it back a week later. Even though they do not lose money, they simply fail to make money, yet they consider themselves investors. And I said, thoughts from the richest man in Babylon about ensuring you protect your money and it's not lost came to me. Seems a lot of people make money but do not keep it. It's a tragedy. So look at that. This is another thing. When you make money, do you keep it or do you give it back a week later? Man, it's something to really think about, man. Let's just move on. Quick. We'll work through the psychology later on. Years ago, Rich Dad explained to me that investing is not what most people think it is. He said, many people think investing is this exciting process where there's a lot of drama. Many people think investing involves a lot of risk, luck, timing, and hot tips. Some realize they know little about this mysterious subject of investing, so they entrust their faith and money to someone they hope knows more than they do. And I say that it's easy to think this way when the images of Wall Street you're fed is this office with dozens of computers and people chasing hot tips. When it's boring, it's a boring situation. People just calling each other. I mean, it's really boring to be quite honest. It's just a few people making calls. Hey, I have this. Do you want this? It's not as dramatic. And executives making $1 billion in this office, another $1 billion in that office. I don't think it's that dramatic. But the question is that many people think it's exciting. And I think when you think it's exciting, you cannot just calm yourself down and go down the boring route. You'll go the amusement boring cycle. To me, investing is a plan, often a dull, boring and almost mechanical process of getting rich. There's a playbook. There are playbooks. I was introducing this idea that there are playbooks. They're boring, dull, almost mechanical playbooks. I don't know, said Rich Dad. I've often asked myself the same question. I've also wondered why only 3 out of 100 Americans are rich. How come so few people become rich in a country that was founded on the idea that each of us has the opportunity to become rich? I wanted to be rich, I had no money. So to me, it was just common sense to find a plan or recipe to be rich and follow it. Why try to make up your own plan when someone else already has shown you the way? And I note that a lot of people want to be Mr. Smarty Pants and come up with their own way of getting rich. While they are true, fundamental ways already prescribed. Just really something to ponder on. Rich Dad then said, once I learned the formula, the process of buying 4 greenhouses, then exchanging them for 100 hotel, the formula became automatic. I could do it in my sleep, and many times it seemed like I did. I did it automatically without much thinking. I just followed the plan for 10 years, and one day I woke up and realized I was rich. Boring playbook. But you see, these plans, this playbook, this formula, this recipe has to be entrenched in your mind. Or you just know, oh yeah, this money is going to my greenhouse, and I need to buy 4 of them. So, no, it wasn't. But that strategy was one of the simple formulas I followed. To me, if the formula is complex, it's not worth following. If you can't do it automatically after you learn it, you shouldn't follow it. That is how automatic investing and getting rich is, as long as you have a simple strategy and follow it. Now you see why you need to come up with a plan. That means that even if you knew nothing about stock picking, you could beat most of the so-called well-trained and educated professionals if you followed a purely mechanical, non-intuitive method of investing. It is exactly as Rich Dad said, it's automatic. Said another way, the less you think, the more money you make with less risk and with a lot less worry. Fascinating. Stop overthinking, overanalyzing, and over stop smartness, and just focus on the fundamentals. The path to achieving investment success is to study long-term results and find a strategy or group of strategy that makes sense, then stay on that path. He also states we must look at how well strategies, not stocks, perform. This was also a mind shift for me, is that we want to find playbooks, not stocks, game plans, philosophies, recipes, ideas, and know how these strategies perform. And the ones that perform best, we just want to stick it out for the long term. So therefore, in your quest to build wealth, what are the strategies you can find and how well do they perform? I had never seen this. I had never thought about. I guess I have heard about these ideas, but it was just never as real to me. That study long-term results and find a strategy or a group of strategies. Find a playbook or a group of playbooks that make sense, and just stay on that path. Amazing. Look at this. Rich Dad had a similar view. That is why his formula was to build house businesses and have his businesses by real estate as well as his paper assets. That formula has been a winning formula for wealth for at least 200 years. Rich Dad said, the formula I use and the formula I'm teaching you is the formula that has created the richest individuals over a long period of time. That's a playbook. That right there is a playbook. Build businesses, have your businesses, buy real estate and your paper assets. That right there is a playbook. Yeah, let me move on. I am often disturbed when people come up to me and start telling me about the stock they bought for $5 and how it went up to 30 and they sold it. I find myself disturbed because those kind of stories distract from their plan, their success. When it comes to money, many people often suffer alone and in silence. It's likely their parents did the same thing. Most men lead a life of quiet desperation. As your plan evolves, you will begin to meet new members of your team who will assist you by helping you make financial dreams come true. Members of a financial team may include a banker, accountant, lawyer, broker, bookkeeper, insurance agent, and or a successful mentor. And so I hear say that not talking about money is a culture that gets reinforced through generations. I remember just saying that I don't want that for my family and for my kids, because most people suffer alone in silence, and it's highly likely their parents did the same. Take your time, think quietly about your life up to this point, and take days to think quietly. Take weeks if you need to. Now ask yourself, in these moments of quiet, what do I want from this gift called life? this beautiful gift called life. What do I really want? Now, don't talk to anyone, at least for a while, at least until you are certain you know what you think you want. You. All too often, people either innocently or intentionally want to impose on others what they want for those people instead of respecting what others want for themselves. The biggest killers of deep inner dreams are your friends and family members who say, don't be silly, or you can't do that. This is so true. So don't talk to anyone. What do you really want? And I forget what number 4 was. And number 5 is call professional investors. All investment plans begin with a financial plan. If you do not like what the professional says, find another one. You would ask for a second opinion for medical problems. So why not ask many opinions for financial challenges? Financial advisors come in many forms. The advisor could be a coach or a mentor, someone who has already done what you want to do. Choose an advisor who is equipped to assist you in developing a written financial plan. Let me highlight this. I never highlighted it before, but let me bold it. Choose an advisor who is equipped to assist you to develop a written financial plan. Not just vibes, not just talking, but who can help you to really come up with a document of what you really want to do. And Rich Dad always said insurance is a very important product in one's life plan. The trouble with insurance is that you can never buy it when you need it. So you have to anticipate when you need and buy it. Hoping you'll never need it. Insurance is simply peace of mind. Important note, some financial advisors specialize in helping people at different financial levels. In other words, some advisors work only with rich people. Now, regardless of whether or not you have money, find an advisor you like and who is willing to work with you. If your advisor does a good job, you may find yourself outgrowing your advisor. My wife Kim and I have often changed our professional advisors, which include doctors, attorneys, and accountants. If the person is a professional, he or she will understand. But even if you change advisors, be sure to stick to your plan. One of the psychologists that came to me when I read this was just the thought that why would I even wanna go to talk to someone about my money? Like, am I that sick? Am I that desperate? Or on the flip side, do I think I'm that special or I'm that much of an entrepreneur to not engage with a money advisor? I thought that was a very profound question to ask myself, because there's an element of pride. There's an element of just bravado and thinking like you own the world. And thinking, man, I don't need to talk to a financial advisor. What do you mean? Just going to charge me a bunch of money for them to exactly tell me what I could have done myself? No. Find an advisor you like and is willing to work with you. So just do it, man. And this is, for me, is also an invitation to really start trusting more professionals and people. Because there's so many people in this space. There are a lot of people in this financial advice. There are a lot of quacks too, like just in any space, really. But there's also a lot of legit people in this space. And so I'll come back and talk about that later, because a few emotions just popped up in my head. The thinking that entrepreneurs, like bold entrepreneurs, don't need to have people looking at their money, because they're building their dream world. Like sharks on Shark Tank, they're the ones who are supposed to advise. But I think the psychology is wrong. You find your own plan first by taking action. This is so important. Taking action. Remember all these things we're talking about, man. We're saying that you have to take action. The knowing doing gap you have to empower action. You really have to empower action. Between knowledge and results, you have to empower action. So begin by calling a professional and set realistic goals. Knowing the goals will change as you change, but stick to the plan. For most people, the ultimate plan is to find a sense of financial freedom from the day-to-day drudgery of working for money. And I say the reason you need a plan is because what will your life look like when you're out of the rat race? And then what will you invest in? What will you spend your time doing? Like, what if you make it out, right? What if in 10 years you're out of the rat race? You have enough assets that match up with like whatever money you have, and you no longer need to work for money. And then what? What will you do? You need to have a plan, man. You need to think about the next 10 years. Oh, let me just realize that investing is a team sport. And in this book, I will go into the importance of my financial team. I have noticed that too many people think they need to do things on their own. Well, there are definitely things you need to do on your own, but sometimes you need a team. Financial intelligence helps you know when to do things on your own and when to ask for help. You may want to hold meetings over lunch with all these people on a regular basis. That is what Rich Dad did. And it was at this meeting that I learned the most about business, investing, and the process of becoming rich. Regardless of whether you work for someone else or for yourself, if you want to be rich, you've got to mind your business. This was from Rich Dad Poor Dad. The lesson from Rich Dad Poor Dad that you still need to mind your money. Keep your golden children and deploy them where they earn a stable return on investment. Suitable, maybe I should have said. I have grown up and gained knowledge and wisdom along the way. Therefore, my plan is constantly under revision because I am under revision. Look at that. So because you will constantly change and evolve, so just start. And if things change, your plans will change with you. It's far much better than not having a plan. Powerful. Finally, I was able to meet with Rich. So you already asked him to make a plan. So finally, I was able to meet with Rich Dad and show him my plan. Good. Was all he said for a while. He sat there looking at the plan and asked, so what did you learn about yourself? Look at that. Kiyosaki. I learned that it's not easy to really define what it is I want for my life. And because today we have so many choices and so many of them look exciting. Very good, he said. And that is why so many people today go from job to job or business to business, never really getting to where they want to go financially. So they often spend their most precious asset, their time, and wander through life without much of a plan. They might be happy doing what they're doing, but they really do not know what they're missing out on. Isn't it interesting that after this man Kiyosaki did this laborious process of coming up with a plan, he presents the plan to Rich Dad, and instead of going through this plan word by word, Rich Dad asks him, so what did you learn about yourself? It's so fascinating, and it reiterates the importance of learning, the importance of milking juice out of situations, out of experiences that you go, because they compound and they help you become better. And also another thought that I had is also randomly I watched a Dave Ramsey video. But I've never actually read Dave Ramsey's book. Maybe I will one day. I just the Total Money Makeover man. But anyway, somebody on the radio call, he said that some people get out of college, and then somebody down the street called them and say, hey, there's a factory job, do you want to come and work at the factory? And they say, yeah, sure, yeah, let's come down and work at the factory. And so they go down and work at the factory, and then 10 years go by, 20 years go by, 30 years go by, 40 years go by, and now they ask, what, it's been 40 years and I'm still at the factory. They never asked, what could my life have become? They never wondered, what could have been what I wanted to do if I never just agreed to come to the factory, because they didn't even accept the factory. They didn't even purposefully take the factory job. Someone just asked them, hey, do you want to come work down at the factory? And they stayed there for 40 years. So the question is, that what you really want from your life? And you want to ask this question and not wander through life without much of a plan. That's why a plan is so important. It helps you to move jobs, to move cities, to move states if you need to. Whew. wealth. So that's good, said Rich Dad. Very good, he continued. So many people have been conditioned to live beyond their means or to save for a rainy day that they never know what could be possible for their lives. So people splurge or get into debt by taking an annual vacation or buying a nice car, and then they feel guilty. They never take time to figure out what could be financially possible if only they had a good financial plan, and that is a waste. So powerful, man. It was 4 months before I could meet Rich Dad again. This plan was not that easy or as easy as I thought it would be. I checked in by phone with Rich Dad every so often, but the plan was still taking longer than I wanted. Yet the process was extremely valuable because I learned a tremendous amount by talking to different financial advisors. I was gaining a better understanding of the concepts Rich Dad was trying to teach me. The lesson I learned was that unless I'm clear about what I want, it is hard for the advisor to be clear about it and help me achieve my goals. Unless I'm clear about what I want, it is hard for the advisor to be clear about it and help me achieve my goals. So when you go to an advisor, you book a call with the financial advisor and you meet up even over Zoom or whatever, or they send you this thing that you're supposed to fill up and send back. They ask you, so what do you want to achieve out of your life? And you're like, man, I don't know. Like, go back, think it over, and when you are clear, come back. So the importance of clarity and follow through on a solid plan, it has to start with clarity. Jim Rohn says, when the vision is clear, the price is easy to pay. When the vision is clear, the price is easy to pay. Nothing is more tragic than to see people who have sold themselves short on what it is possible for their lives. That's it, said Rich Dad. That's why you want to plan. The more you find out what might be possible for this tremendous gift called life, the younger at heart you remain. People who plan only for security or who say my income will go down when I retire are planning for a life of less, not a life of more. If our Maker has created a life of unlimited abundance, why should you plan on limiting yourself or having less? I thought this was fascinating. I said the importance of having an abundance mindset and how to activate it in your life. Really, it's a self-image issue. Then asked, you mean the difference between rich and secure and comfortable? That's what I'm asking. I responded. The difference is price. Look at this. Said Rich Dad. There is a tremendous price difference between a financial plan to be rich and the other two positions. You mean the investments in the rich financial plan cost more money? I asked. Well, to most people it looks like the price is measured in terms of money. But if you look closer, you'll see that the price is not measured in money. It is really measured in time. And the assets of time and money, time is really the more precious asset. Well, let me read this first. Oh, I got it, I said as I began to understand what Richard was getting at. I pay more for a plane ticket because I'm saving time. Think of it more like buying time than saving time. The moment you begin to think of time as precious and that it has a price, the richer you will become. For me, this is something I've been working through and going through. You see, even this idea of taking time, even to think about your life, it's going to cost you time. You understand? And you can't be doing the busy work in your business and still have time to think, time to reflect, time to look at the problems coming. And that's why it makes sense that the higher you go and the higher you climb this financial ladder, you want to hire leverage that starts doing all these things at the lower level that was hard for you. And you start like managing the efficiency of the lower level. And when now you have a bunch of people who are doing this, you have a bunch of free time. Now when you have a bunch of free time, you can talk to people, you can really look at how things are doing. So it's like you want to pay people to do the things that take away your time so that you can have more time. And if we juxtapose that, we say that for me to have more time, I have to pay 10 people to get this type of leverage, then that means that your time is actually worth 10 people. This importance of time just got solidified in a very, very strong way in me, even in my journey as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, and why you want to seek out leverage, so that you can have time to read the paper, to talk to look at investments, to drive around. You can't drive around just if you have to be at a job from 8 to 5. You can't meet a bunch of people, you can't pay for good things, you can't meet the governor, you can't meet politicians because you have to be at a job. But if your work still has to go on, you have to pay for those posts. Therefore, really, the price is time. This is going to be a very fundamental aspect that I keep exploring as I move forward. Yes, because of just also personally, I've also got into that level finally also in life. Just accepting that there's no way, absolutely 100% no way, that I can service all the I want tos in my life. You can buy all the type of productivity books, you can and productivity hacks, but you just have to hire more and delegate. It's a reality. So poor people often cling to money more than rich people. I think of money only as a medium of exchange. In reality, money by itself has very little value. So as soon as I have money, I want to exchange it for something of real value. Now, the irony is that many people who cling desperately to money spend that money on things of very little value, and that is why they are poor. They say things like safe as money in the bank. When they do spend their hard-earned money, they turn their cash into trash. This is an important lesson because what's the use of your money? You should quickly convert it into an asset that is more valuable. That's also a playbook. Remember, a strategy, a recipe. As soon as you get money, you quickly convert it into an asset that is valuable. Lessons. I understand, Rich Dad replied. Thrift and frugality have their place. But today we're talking about the difference between the plan to be rich and the other two plans. And the difference is price, I restated. Yes, said Rich Dad. And most people think the price is measured in money. And what you're saying is that the price is measured in time, I added, beginning to understand what Rich Dad was getting at. Because time is more important than money. Nodding, Rich Dad said, many people want to get rich or invest in the investments of the rich, but most are not willing to invest time. Remember this idea of time. That's why only 3 out of 100 Americans are rich. Again, you see, you're going to grow and your life is going to change and you're going to be learning more even about other investments. Some of these lessons take time out of your day, hours out of your day, 10 hours out of your day, 5, 3, 2 hours out of your day. It takes time to learn, and if you don't invest the time, you can't outgrow it. That's a thing I've felt. Even say personally, I want to read these books, I want to look at the paper, I want to read the newspaper, I want to look at my financials, how the business is doing. I want to do all these things in a day. I pay that price in time. Okay, let's keep growing and just understanding this part about time. But if I want to be rich, I have to invest in something more valuable than money, and that is time. Wow, we are reiterating this. Is this what you've been getting at with this lesson? I wanted to make sure you understood the lesson, said Rich Dad. You see, most people want to be rich, but they are not willing to first invest the time. They operate on hot tips or wild get-rich-quick schemes, or they want to start a business, so they rush out and start a business without the basic skills of business. And then we wonder why 95% of all small businesses fail in the first 5 to 10 years. They're in such a hurry to make money that they eventually lose both time and money, I added. They want to do things on their own rather than invest in a little study. So powerful, so profound. It confirms every single emotion that I've felt about even small businesses and learning. And I said, why the importance of slowing down and learning? There's no point of rushing. If you're unprepared, get prepared. The earlier, the better. I said, an aside, it hit me that even having more money to get leverage by hiring people is buying time, which is more valuable. So this is when it actually hit me, when I was just coming back and thinking about this idea, like, wow, you can even get more money, more time when you hire out more. But you need to have like money to hire out more. And for you to do that, again, you need to have a strong financial intelligence. You need to understand, your income statement and how to do that. It's a skill, right? So there's no point of hiring. When you just think of a business idea, there's no point of just taking money and throwing it at a business idea. There's no point. Just keep that money aside, study. My father used to say this to me, and in my 20s and my early 20s, I used to be such a hothead. Well, I would just go, because it's such a strenuous effort to take this. And I even found out that learning is also a skill. It's so crazy. When even I'm coming back to be doing these reviews, and then I upload this on YouTube, and then I personally go back and listen to these videos, I start having new thoughts. I start working on the old bad thoughts that I had and move on to better thoughts. I'm like, wow, so learning is a skill that you can cultivate, but it needs time. But you see, if you don't understand that learning is a skill, it's a knowledge skill that you can build. Every time a hot idea comes into your head, you take a bunch of money and you throw it at that idea, and money crash and burn. So this was very profound to me, just to be quite honest. It was very, very profound to me. And that's why for me now it reinforces the idea that I need to be a better learner, and even just come more sharp and more correct. And there's no shame in that. You see, there's a lot of shame. In my early 20s, I had a lot of problems with this, because I felt like, I don't want to be in school. Right? I want to be out there where the action is. I want to start making money. I want to hustle. I want to do business. I want to be out there in the streets and make a bunch of money. But this is what I was missing out. That power to learn and to build wealth that surpasses generations. Okay, and then you can follow a simple long-term plan, reach that repeated. You see, almost anyone in the Western world can easily become a millionaire if he or she simply follows a long-term plan. But again, most people aren't willing to invest the time. They want to get rich now. What? You see, if you study, you could probably get rich quick. Not quick, over time. Instead of investing the time, they say things like, investing is risky, it takes money to make money, or I don't have to learn to invest, I'm too busy working and I have bills to pay. That will never go away. This pedestrian thinking. Elevate from this level. You're always going to be too busy. Bills are not gonna go away, man. I'm so happy. For me, I think also I had to get to this level. Personally, I think I had to get to this level where, like, my rent, my baby's needs, my financial needs are not going to go away. So my question is, am I just going to be now worried and get like busy solving that? Because it will never go away. Or I need to accept that it will never go away, so let's plan around it. Someone said that rent is not an emergency. It's not like you just found out, I have rent. It's not an emergency. So prioritize it and accept it as a reality, and make sure you take care of that, and then now you learn. And those very common ideas or excuses, how I saw few people achieve great wealth in a world that is filled with money. Those ideas or words are why 90% of the population has a problem of not having enough money, rather than a problem of having too much money. The ideas about money and investing cause their money problems, All they have to do is change a few words, a few ideas, and their financial world will change like magic. But most people are too busy working and they do not have time. Many often say, I'm not interested in learning to invest. It is the subject that does not interest me. Yet they fail to see that when they say those words, they become slaves to money, working for money, having money dictate the financial boundaries of their lives, living frugally and within their means. Instead of investing a little time, following a plan and having money work for them. And I say that business also takes away your time. Time to study or learn, time to think, time to ask the real fundamental questions. And that is a problem. So, just even I'm telling myself in my life, when I feel the busyness arise, I am asking myself, is this a real business or is it a self-imposed business? Because I'm not really supposed to be like my mind taken over with the business. If it's an urgent project that needs to get done, yeah, it's an urgent project that needs to get done, but that shouldn't be my constant reality. If you don't have a plan, little discipline, and some determination, the other investor controls will not mean much. When we're going to learn later on that there's this thing called investor controls. But here, the basics are discipline and determination. So, plan, discipline, and determination. These are the three investor basics that were introduced in here. When Rich Dad listed the three core financial values to be secure, comfortable, and rich, he said it makes perfect sense to invest from the outside when you invest at the secure and the comfortable level of investing. That is why you turn your money over to a professional. You hope is closer to the inside than you are. But if you want to be rich, you have to be closer to the inside than the professional to whom most people entrust their money. And I say that your goal is to move inside and to invest from the inside, not where you have no visibility. Why do you allow yourself to not have visibility? Refuse. Go inside where you really see how it works. The business behind the business is the real game. It's the business behind the business that makes money, regardless of who is the game, which way the market goes, up or down. It's the business that sells tickets to the game. It does not buy the tickets. That is the investment game the Rich Dad taught me that creates the richest people in the world. I remember saying, what a thought-provoking statement. And how can I move inside? Where now you're selling tickets, you're not buying tickets, you're selling the tickets. So many gems packed in this book. So it takes a lot of time rereading, rethinking, reworking for you to adapt these ideas into your life. Yes, said Rich Dad, and the I quadrant, the investor quadrant, is an afterthought if any thought is given to it at all. In many families, the only thought given to the I quadrant is when parents say, make sure you get a job with excellent benefits and a strong retirement plan. In other words, the idea is to let the company be responsible for your long-term investment needs. That is changing rapidly as we speak. Get so smart about your own financial future. Make the I quadrant the most important quadrant. Choose to be an investor when you're grown up. You want to have your money working for you so that you don't have to work if you don't want to work, if you cannot work. You don't want to be like your dad at 52, starting all over again, trying to figure out which quadrant he can earn the most money from, and realizing he is trapped in the E quadrant. And just a lot of emotions came, a lot of stories, but we have to move on. People comes from what the parents teach their kids at home. What was that? He said, Mike already had a personal investment portfolio over $200,000 by the time he was 15. You had nothing. All you had was this idea of going to school so you can get a job with benefits. That's what your dad thought was important. Another aside. So, I can understand why you can get triggered with these statements and how you can misinterpret a book. And that's why I think even for me coming to do this book this way is so profound, because now like I'm getting the real benefit of the book therein through discussion. When I was 17 and I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then I read the Cash Flow Quadrant. The only thing I got from that book was that they're like when you go to school and get a job, like, you're poor. But I didn't get the whole picture, so I can understand how this can trigger someone. But that's an aside. Let's move on quickly. I never tried to influence him in his choice of careers, said Rich Dad. I wanted him to follow his interest, even if it meant he did not take over my business. But whether he chose to be a policeman, a politician, or a poet, I wanted him to be first an investor. You'll become far richer if you learn to be an investor, regardless of what you do to earn money along the way. And I said, this is what Richard meant by mind your business. Regardless of what you do, remember to mind your business. This is a thinking pattern. I remember when I reread the Rich Dad Poor Dad, this is what I uncovered. That you see, really minding your business, you don't need to be like a super huge entrepreneur making it rain. You could be a poet, you could be a street magician, you could be a rapper. But what you want to do is you want to mind your money. And you want to become an investor. When you get money, you want to keep a part of it and you want to convert it into an asset that gives you money. And you can continue being a clown. You can continue being a comedian. But now you have money because you have other assets that are making money for you. This is a thinking pattern. This is a playbook. It's a psychology. So fascinating. Rich Dad grinned when he heard that, smiling and laughing quietly to himself. He said, investing is not a race. You're not in competition with anyone else. People who compete usually have huge ups and downs in their financial life. You're not here to try to finish fast. All you need to do is to make more money. Simply focus on becoming a better investor. If you focus on improving your experience and your education as an investor, you will gain tremendous wealth. But if all you want to do is to get rich quickly or have more money than Mike, then chances are that you will be a big loser. It's okay to compare and compete a little, but the real objective of this process is for you to become a better and more educated investor. Anything other than that is foolish and risky. I said, why? Comparison is a thief of joy, and you're not really competing with anybody. Refuse to compare and compete yourself with anyone other than your old self. That's why this success porn and like the YouTuber influencer showing his Ferrari he's coming for your mind, and so he's creating this picture of what rich is supposed to look like. But you're not supposed to compete. The only thing you're supposed to be doing is to focus on your experience and your education. Not Ferraris, not yellow Ferraris, not yellow Lamborghinis, and not flexing on people on the gram and showing people like your beautiful life. Be careful with this what this thing does and the kind of thing it reinforces. It takes your time from learning, it takes your time from building your educational experience to now, like flexing and competing and showing off. Competition is good, but most times you will burn out and die. Fascinating. Okay, so now he's talking about in basic investor rules, in the rules of investing. So rule number 1, always know what kind of income you're working for. Rule number 2, convert ordinary income into portfolio income or passive income as efficiently as possible. As soon as you get your income, convert it into different incomes as efficiently as possible. So you see, your income can't just go all of it into expenses. You understand? You can't use everything to live life. No. not to self. Basic rule number three, investment basic rule number three, said Richard, is keep your ordinary earned income secure by purchasing a security you hope converts your earned income into passive income or portfolio income. So after, you have to buy a security. And then number four, investor basic income number four, is that it is the investor who is really the asset or the liability. Say this time. I said you are the prize. Look at that. You are the asset or the liability. Understand, you are the limiting step. You are the bottleneck to your own success. Your own. And Jim Brown said that income rarely exceeds personal development. So you are only earning according to how much you have grown. When you break this glass ceiling, even how much money you earn opens up and you're gone. And that's why you love to listen to investors who are crying the blues about their investment losses. I say, you want to find out what they did wrong and see if you can find a bargain. You got it, said Rich Dad. I'm always looking for the skipper of the Titanic. And that's why you don't like to hear stories about people making a lot of money in the stock market or the real estate market. You hate it when someone tells you he or she bought a stock at 5 and went to trade 5. A foolish investor loses his investment or fumbles the bag. Then a smart investor sweeps in and buys that investment from him. Wow. This, I used to think this is very predatory and like very vulturish. But really, there are very many foolish investors who spend their money wrongly. And you want just to wait for them to fumble the bag and you come in and buy the thing. They build a house and they don't finish it and they're in financial distress. You buy it from them. They purchase vehicles that they cannot sustain, and maybe as a vehicle that can work for you, you buy it from them. You see, foolish investors will always fumble the bag. And this thing also, I learned it just after reading this book and also seeing some patterns. It's so true. Yes, there is, said Rich Dad. Investor basic rule number 5 is that a true investor is prepared for whatever happens. An investor tries to predict and when things will, it's whatever happens, man. And this is so true. My mom was telling me this thing. We were talking about it. She had a health scare. We thought we would lose her and whatever, but she made it. But we also just were talking about losses in life and how many losses you can face even as an investor and as a businessman. There's so many. But you see, if those losses, you take them so personally, you're not going to try. You just have to accept that sometimes you lose. You understand? Sometimes you fail and it's okay. And so yeah, man, whatever. So you take your fortune and you put in a business, it goes bust and you're left holding the bag and you start again. So how does one prepare? You need to focus and keep in mind what others are already looking for. If you want to buy a stock, then attend classes on how to spot bargains in stocks. The same is true for real estate. It all begins with training your brain to know what to look for and being prepared for the moment the investment is presented to you. So you want to learn. You want to be prepared. Number 6, if you're prepared, which means you have education and experience, and you find a good deal, the money will find you or you'll find the money. Look at that. Good deals bring out the greed in people. So when a person finds a good deal, the deal, because it promises great rewards, attracts the cash. And if the deal is bad, doesn't promise great rewards, then it is really hard to raise the cash. I loved this, man. I enjoyed it. You have to be prepared. You have to be prepared. Because if you find a good deal, you will find money. Have you ever seen a good deal that did not attract money? I asked. Yeah, many times it reached that, but it was not the deal that did not attract the cash. The person controlling the deal did not attract the cash. In other words, the deal would have been good if the guy in charge or the deal had stepped aside. It's like having a world-ranked race car with an average driver. No matter how good the car is, no one would bet with an average driver at the wheel. So remember, this is why you need to be attractive, be a better investor, better business person, human. And there's a talk I was listening to by Vusi. He's an African speaker and entrepreneur. And someone asked him, how do you scale? And then he said this. He says scaling really is like a race car. And the race car depends on how good the driver is, not how good the car is. So really the kind of person that can scale a business should be the kind of driver that can scale a business. So the question is, when you're asking these questions, how can I scale? The question then goes back to you. Do you have the kind of knowledge, capacity, emotional and psychological capacity to scale? Are you that type of driver? So that's why you need to be attractive. You need a better investor, a better business person, and a better human. That's a free advice. And then rule basic number 7, that the ability to evaluate risk and reward. And there they talked about risk and reward. The 3 is education, experience, and excess cash. Excess cash, I asked, not just extra cash. No, I used the words excess cash for a reason. Investing in the investments of the rich takes excess cash, which means you truly afford to lose and still profit from the loss. I knew then that rather than try to make money and take bigger risks, I would focus on studying harder. That made more sense to me. It seemed less risky and certainly took less money, and money was not something I had much of then. So it's now you really just want to focus on your education. You want to focus on your education as an investor. Okay. Oh man, I'm almost at the 2-hour mark. This is one of the longest ones I've had to do. So let me just do it for about 10 minutes and then I'll have to stop. I wish I could finish it, but what's the point of making it too long? He went on to explain that too many people begin investing without the first 2 plans in place, and that was risky in his mind. He said, after you have these 2 plans firmly in place, then you can experiment and learn more exotic techniques and utilizing different investment vehicles. That's why I waited for you to take time to put those automatic or mechanical investment plans in place before I continued on with your lessons. If you boys listen to me, you'll work hard for portfolio income and passive income if you want to be rich. Rich Dad nodded. You often hear people say investing is risky, but really it is the investor who is risky. It is ultimately the investor who is the asset or the liability. I've seen many so-called investors lose money when everyone else is making money. I've sold businesses to many so-called business people and watched that business soon go bust. I've seen people take a perfectly good piece of real estate that was making a lot of money, and in a few years the same piece of real estate is running at a loss and falling apart. And then I hear people say that investing is risky. It's the investor who is risky, not the investment. In fact, a good investor loves to follow behind a risky investor because that's where the real investment bargains are found. Another hot tip: you want to find bargains? Look for bad investors who fumble the bag, and you're going to get bargains. Now, so I'd rather hear tales of woe and misery because that's where the bargains are. As a person who operates the B&I side, I want to find securities that are liabilities and then turn them into assets. Wait for someone else to begin turning them into assets. Financially savvy business people will buy you out simply because you're not good enough. So you have to stay sharp. So exactly, again, there's so many people who come from the mindset that there is scarcity instead of abundance in the world. They often cry about missing a deal and hang on to a deal too long, thinking that's the only deal, or they buy thinking that what they're looking for is the only deal. If you are good at the B&I side of the cash flow quadrant, you have more time and more deals to look at. And your confidence is high because you know that you can take a bad deal that most people would reject and turn it into a good deal. That's what I mean about investing the time in order to be prepared. If you're prepared, there is a deal of a lifetime being presented to you every day of your life. So this is why preparation, taking time to learn, is powerful leverage. So again, kill the busyness so that you can have this gift called time. So you can understand that there are more deals, man. Like I'm not feeling like, oh man, say buy now for $9.99, buy today. People are buying, it's running out of the shelves, it's going off. This is your investment of a lifetime. No. Take your time, learn, and then make investments. Yes, that's what I mean. And the piece of raw land was better deal than most. That is what I mean by about being prepared. I knew what the land was worth, and I also knew what was going to happen in that neighborhood in a few months. So there was very low risk coupled with a very low price. I would love to find 10 more pieces of land today at the same neighborhood. So again, I said, if you have time and education, you are better placed to identify the bargain. We are reinforcing what you've been saying. Education and experience is the biggest leverage for an investor. You want to build that. You want to build your kitty of investment and experience. Now, they could have handled that investment opportunity more wisely if they were a little educated, had a little experience, and were prepared. Anyway, you understand why experience is important? So again, if I'm prepared, if I have done my homework and I have some experience and track record, I have something that is good investment, then finding money is not that hard. Look at just that one statement. I am prepared, I've done my homework, and I have some experience and a track record. And it's something good happens. I mean, I know how much money this type of things make. And so just say, I'll get the money. It's not hard to get the money. Even like personally, my heart won't be beating that I'm risking, because I know. So time and education is most fundamental. And then now we come back to this idea of the primary job of investors is to make sure their money is secure. The next step is to do their best to convert that money into cash flow or capital gains. Why didn't I bold this? Cash flow is the game. That's when you find out if you or the person whom you entrusted your money can turn that security into an asset, or if it will become a liability. Again, it is not the investment that is necessarily safe or risky, it is the investor. That begins to show you that there's some investors who can take an asset and turn it into cash flow or capital gains, and others who will kill it. My answer is the same. It is to keep things simple to understand the basics. Begin with having investment plans for security and comfort in place. Those plans are often handled by someone else you hope is competent and following an automatic no-brainer formula. Then you have to pay the price to become an investor who wants to make more money with less risk. And what is the price? I asked. Time. Say it, rich dad. Time is your most important asset. If you're not willing to invest your time, then leave your investment capital with people who are following the investment plan of your choice. Many people dream of getting rich, but most will not pay the price of investing their time. I feel like there are a few key ideas that's being reinforced. Time is the price that you're going to pay. It's so powerful. You see, these ideas and the way these ideas are standing out to me, there's no other way I could have uncovered it if I did not read this book this way. If I just read the thing, I could have a bunch of wishy-washy thoughts. But now that I've taken the real words that Kiyosaki wrote and juxtaposing them, almost like literature, the essence starts to come out. And I think it's a very fundamental way of learning. And I love that. I'm so happy for that. Now, Rich Dad continued at a rapid fire pace. So if you want to invest with low risk and high returns, you have to pay the price. And the price involves lots of study. Lots of study. Did he just say it twice? Oh yeah. The price involves study. Lots of study. You need to study the basics of business. So to be a rich investor, you also have to either have a good business. You also have to either be a good business owner or to know what a business owner knows. I need to highlight this. This is powerful. I need to bold this. To be a rich investor, you either have to be a good business owner or to know what a business owner knows. So if you've never run a business before, I'm lucky a little bit. I've run business before, even family business. But you need to know what a business owner knows. A business that is successful, not these businesses that fail. Look at this. You mean building a business is an investment? I asked. Probably the best investment of all. If you want to become a rich investor, roughly 80% of the very rich become rich through building a business. Now, most people work for people who build businesses or invest in businesses. Then they wonder why the person who built the business is so rich. The reason is that the builder of the business will always trade money for the asset. You mean the builder or the owner of the business value the asset more than the money? I asked. That is part of the picture, because all an investor really does is trade time, expertise, or money for a security that they hope or intend will become an asset. So just as you trade money to buy an investment, a piece of real estate like a rental house, or pay money for a share of a stock, a business owner will pay people money to build a business asset. Look at that. I even didn't. That's leverage. That's exactly what I'm talking about. One of the main reasons the poor and middle class struggle is that they value money over assets. So when you take money and buy real estate, a business person will pay people money to build a business asset. He's buying leverage. The thing I was talking about, I didn't somehow, maybe I caught it in the subconscious, but now I've seen it. When you buy leverage, I don't even know what to say. That got me so far that let's continue. But I have one burning question. I said, ask it, said Rich Dad. How can you say investing is not risky when most people say investing is risky? Easy, said Rich Dad. I can read financial statements and most people cannot. Do you remember me saying to you years ago that your dad was word literate but not financially literate? That's the thing. You need to learn to read financial statements. So now you need to understand the first part is don't work for money, or even it says here. These are some 3 important things. Never work for money. Work for assets. That's the answer. When you ask, so what do you mean? Like, don't work for money. Work for assets. Then 2, learn to spot opportunities, not jobs. No jobs. And so when your mind is looking for jobs, be aware of the pattern that your mind has jumped into, and then stop it. I stopped it when I was doing web development and I was doing a lot of coding. I realized that my mind was constantly thinking jobs, because there's this old thing on Twitter, how people are earning like 10,000 US just coding. And then number 3, learn to read financial statements. I think I'm going to stop here. Either I'll come back, because when you come back, we're going to really look at how to read financial statements. So let me just maybe draw this, and then we'll continue from here. All right, let's go F10.